I love this. Well, here we are. Day whatever it is of bloody COVID. Stuck in our little room here, nowhere else to go. Pubs are closed. We can't go anywhere. We do like to be live in a pub, Trev. I talked to Trev today and I say, let's do something. And he goes, yep, I'm in. It's good to get out of your own environment, isn't it, and into, well, some sort of studio.
Definitely, mate. It's awesome. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's hopefully the country's kind of on the, the country's kind of on the fix. It, slowly but surely, and who knows, in another couple of months, Mr. Morrison might say, let's open the pubs and we can sit at the pub and watch some football. It was kind of a bit of a downer with the football season. You start, my beloved Eels are up there at the top, and all of a sudden it's all off, and well, we're watching reruns. That's all we're doing, isn't it? Just watching reruns of the bloody football. And I think, what was the day? End of May, wasn't it? For the footy to come back?
Yeah, it's meant to be coming back on the 28th of May.
28th of May. So, and apparently the everyone keeps their points that they've got. So yes. It'll be good. So we're stuck here, and you know what? Let's just dribble for an hour. We can just talk shit, and hopefully people don't tune out, and hopefully some tune in. We'll send some shout-outs. We'll talk about some things. We can talk about your life and where you've been and what you've done in the, the football thing, and what, you can talk about where you've, there's people that have been locked down, and then there's you who've been locked down in lockdown, right, for the past bloody 30 days. So
and that lockdown isn't jail either, folks.
he hasn't been at tennis camp for 28 days. He's actually been a bit crook and been in hospital, but he's out and about now, and he was champing at the bit. Now that we can always have someone here because it is work, but once I said to him, come for a drive, he was here 10 minutes early. Adrian, there's something for you. Someone was on time, mate. I just love that. I got to tell Adrian, and God love him, he does run the show, but I've got to tell him if we want to start at 7 o'clock, I say, be here at 6, and he gets here at 7:05. So that's not bad. Yeah, he's not bad, and I think he gets in trouble for being late.
I bet he does.
He gets in big trouble. Now, so you've done some things in your life, Trev. I must admit, I look at your social media pages and things like that, and you have been crook, and there's, a lot of people from, the other side of the world, a lot of people from England and, places like that who are writing to you. They're, lovely people. You've got a good fan base over there. You've got a good fan base over here. And I know you did a bit of work with, you still do a bit of work on Serious About Rugby League.
Yeah, that's right, Serious About Rugby League. So Serious About Rugby League is an English rugby league website.
Yep.
Started in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
The way that came about was Ben Carney, who's the chief editor and owner of Serious About Rugby League.
Right.
He was finishing university at the time doing journalism.
Right.
And one of his major projects, he had to start a blog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, at the time, Facebook had not long started groups.
Right,
and
yeah.
There was a group chat that we're all in called Serious About Rugby League. And we used that. He said to me, look, this is what I'm going to do. Let's have some fun with it. We know what we're talking about.
Mm.
And it just started off as a hobby.
Yeah, right.
Back in 2012.
Bit like Adrian and us with our bloody pubs. It just started as a hobby. Like, we would just sit there and we'd get on the grog and, we'd say, people want to hear these shit stories that we tell. And it's probably the same thing. You just start as a bit of a group, and before you know it, it's real serious about rugby league, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So the original guys were myself, Ben Carney, Paul Redhead.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he is a ranger as well. Sorry, Paulie.
His parents must have... I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. Wow. Lucky his name wasn't Paul Ranger.
That's it.
So, and Ben Carney, so he played...
No, he didn't play. He's just loves his rugby league.
Yep.
Studied journalism.
And thought he'd start this.
Yeah.
And your fan base on that?
Fan base at the moment on Facebook is over 100,000 people.
Okay, yep.
All organic.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
That's good. They're all listeners then, aren't you? They're like
right.
people have got an interest in in English rugby league, like in the Super League, obviously, and
not just
the lower grades.
That's right, not just the Super League, but also the Championship and the League One.
Right. Yep. Okay. And he writing a paper still? Did he do his journalism as well, or has he just did this? Like, I know this is journalism, but
he's just mainly been concentrating on serious about rugby league.
Right. Yeah.
Like he has worked for another company.
Right.
But I won't name.
Yeah.
But he has worked for someone else as well within rugby league. But now he's just concentrating on serious about rugby league.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Wow. It now we're serious about rugby league, and we were going to touch on another subject, and that was the Steve Prescott, which is, I suppose, is that equivalent to like our Daily M, is it?
Yeah, that's right. So the Steve Prescott Man of Steel Award is awarded to the best English, or I won't say English, but the best player in the Super League. So it's equivalent to the Daily M's over here.
Right. Okay.
Originally, it was voted by the peers.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, it wasn't like a 3-2-1 system.
Right, okay. Like ours, where each game you
That's
get...
right.
Yeah,
it's only just been over the last 2 seasons where they've changed it to a 3-2-1 system.
Right. Okay. So, and the peers just from their team, or each week does everyone go in and... So whether it's Wingham or whatever it may be, do they pick a player from a different team, or only the games that they're playing?
They've got a proper judging panel.
Right, okay. Yeah,
so
right.
Who would do that? So that could be someone from Sky, because obviously over there in England, the Sky Sports, they're the ones who telecast the games.
Right.
And obviously they're having that. Off the top of my head, I don't know who exactly is on those panels.
Yeah.
But obviously it's just a panel of people who watch the games.
And, right. And obviously they have the big awards night like we do and things like that. And is it like normally, like over here you'll have the people that win the Dally M or who are in line for the Dally M, and then the other awards are normally from a pretty elite sort of a side. I mean, you look at some of the Dally M winners we've had over the last 10 years, and you can pretty much tell the sides that they're going to be from. Do they have that same sort of structure over there? It's all the top 2 or 3 teams that are going to, for the year.
That's right. They do have like that type. You can have a good understanding on who's probably going to win the award.
Right.
And there's been some great players over the years that have won the award.
Yep.
But just on the Steve Prescott Man of Steel award.
Yep.
So back in 2013, it used to, and before that, it used to be called the Man of Steel.
Right. Yep.
And so Steve Prescott was diagnosed with cancer, a very rare cancer in his stomach, liver. And he got told by his doctors, you need to rest, you need to settle, need to relax. But Steve didn't listen to him and put himself through different challenges to raise money for different hospitals and all that. Yep. And he opened up his own campaign, foundation called the Steve Prescott Foundation.
Right.
And so basically to raise money for different charities. So he put himself through different physical challenges that the most healthiest person would struggle to do. Mm-hmm. And he raised like a lot of money.
Wow.
And in 2013, like I was saying, I received an email from a group of people from Hull in England saying, hey, look, this is what we're wanting to do. We want a campaign to the RFL to name the Man of Steel Award after Steve Prescott.
Okay. Wow.
And obviously, like I knew who Steve was through his rugby league. Played for St Helens, played for Hull FC.
Right.
He was a good fullback. And basically, I thought, this is really good. This is something I believe in. And they were asked, like, where can we start? They were just expecting just a little bit of media coverage.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm not just going to give a little bit of media coverage. I'll give some direction. And even though, like, I was here in the western suburbs of Sydney, they're over in the north of England.
Yeah.
Like, I was giving them some direction on what to do with it. And we all worked as a unit, as a team.
Right.
And then Steve passed away in the November.
Right,
October, November 2013.
Right.
And people said, you need to stop the campaign, like, out of respect.
Right.
And all that. And I thought, because he knew about it. And what I got told, he was really humbled by it. Like
that'd be more of a thing to keep it going. If he knew about it and he was humbled by it, like and the poor bloke...
That's right. And like I turned around to the guys, I said, look, don't stop. Like, I don't know, it sounds really selfish on my behalf, But I thought if we stop now,
It's like you've given up.
it's like we're
Once
giving
the bloke's
up.
passed away and you're just
But
giving up.
the moment he passed away, that's when the big name players in England, like your Sam Tompkins and the big superstars over there, jumped on board
Right.
and started saying, "Let's get this going."
Let's get momentum happening.
And so they like put it out on their socials, like Twitter or Facebook pages, whatever they were using at the time.
Yeah.
And it gained momentum again. Obviously, there was fundraisers done through different fundraisers, petitions, and then I believe in the January was when they took the petition to the RFL.
Yeah.
The RFL is very hard
Yeah.
to get anything out of. It's like trying to get blood out of a stone.
Yeah.
You know, and like they're very, very hard to change anything. And obviously the petition was given.
Like the Greens Party over here.
So yeah, and during that time, like I know I'm going to talk about myself here. During that time, I was actually diagnosed with my first time with cancer myself.
Right. Yep.
During that time, and like I said to people, I'm not comparing what I had to
No.
Steve.
Oh,
But
cancer's cancer. If you've got it,
that's it.
You're hitting the bad things. Like,
Yeah, that's right. And I use Steve as my motivation. Like, you know, he gave me that.
Yeah.
Even though I never met the bloke, but I was inspired by him.
Yeah, definitely.
And during my time, up until I had my operation from the first time round, like everything for me, I was like, you know what? Yeah, mine isn't as bad. And I know like I'm in a good position where they can get it.
Yeah.
But I still use Steve as my inspiration. The morning of, I woke up to go to the hospital to have my operation done. I received a message from England, from Graham
Yeah.
Middleton, who
Yeah.
was one of the main guys of the campaign.
Right.
And he said to me, "Trev, we've done it.
It's in.
It's in."
Wow.
He goes, "But you can't say anything yet because they were going to announce it on their boots and all
Oh, okay. That's
that
yeah.
night on TV."
Right.
And I said, "Oh, that's awesome, mate." So I've jumped on my socials. Everyone knew I was going into hospital.
Mm.
And I said to everyone, I go, "Watch Boots and all. There's going to be a big announcement tonight that's going to change the English game forever."
Wow. And you've got your own problems to worry about. You're going into hospital to get your things done.
And people were saying to me, what's this big announcement, Trev? I couldn't say anything because it was embargoed.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you know, I was given the hint.
Yeah, you were given it, yeah.
I was given the hint.
On the hush-hush.
People didn't connect what I was going on about. Like, I'm thinking, guys, what have we been working on all this time?
Put two and two together.
Yeah,
Like,
and no one really put two and two together. And then it was announced. But by this stage, I was already in the operating room, and it wasn't until I came out like where I had all the messages and saying, "Oh, you guys are great." And I said, "Look, I was only part of, you know, like it wasn't just, it was a team effort.
That's right.
It was a community effort."
yeah.
And mate, I said, like, I was just lucky enough just to be,
And this is all from Hull. This is the supporters of Hull.
from over in Hull. And then obviously, you know, you had the supporters who went for St. Helens. Like, everyone came together,
Right.
like, for this cause, which was
Yeah.
awesome.
Which is what, and I mean, our rugby league would do that as well, which is a great thing that, it's like the old saying that everyone hates Manly. But if they had to do something, everyone would come together. It's the same.
right.
It's, a person's a person at the end of the day. You're meant to hate a different team because you go for, I go for my beloved Eels, but
Yeah.
there's hundreds of thousands of people that think they're fucking useless, and good luck to them.
Well,
And,
mate,
you know,
well,
you
just-
know who you go for.
That's
and
right.
We can touch on that later, but you're hated, your team.
Yeah,
Other than Manly. I mean,
that's it.
no offence to any Manly players, except when you flogged us in the grand final, but don't worry about that. But and it's good. Rugby league as a whole is a community. It is a community. It doesn't
It's a
you
family.
start at juniors and when the players are playing, you hate them. Oh, I hate that player. Oh, I love that player. Oh, I hate that player. But then all of a sudden, like there was a player back in the day that I couldn't stand on the field. Probably a lovely bloke, Michael Hancock.
Yep, Michael Hancock.
Oh my God, he used to shit me. He used to swear at the TV. But if they
my
ever said,
dad-
he'd signed up for Parramatta, he's a legend.
That's it. Like my dad, my dad couldn't stand him. I remember like as a kid watching, and my dad used to go, "You're a cat, Hancock. You're a cat."
and probably a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
I've never met Michael Hancock.
No,
but
like I've never met him, but then like I know like Dad at the same time goes, "He's a good player, though."
he's a great player.
Yeah.
He's a great player. I mean, and you talk about the Cameron Smith. I mean, he knows how to milk the game and all that. And we just digress for a second, but Cameron Smith, he knows exactly what to do. And then you're yelling at the TV, He's lying in the he's just too smart.
That's it.
If he was on your team, you'd just be high-fiving the TV. Like, that's
right.
he's brilliant. He's a legend. And, yeah, the only person that I find that you can never yell at the TV or you can't hate is Jonathan Thurston.
Yeah.
He's just a likeable bloke.
Oh,
Even if he lost, he laughed.
Oh, that's right.
Except when he missed that goal and then the field goal. Lucky he kicked the other goal, or he got the other way around.
I was actually at that grand final in 2015.
I saw a grown man cry that night when he missed that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's getting back to it. The rugby league community, whether you love them or hate them, if someone's in need of fixing something, everyone bands together.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone bands together, and that's a good thing. So, you go back to it. So, poor Steve Prescott, he's passed away. You're going in for an operation. You get told before you go into the operation, hey, it's gone through, keep it on the hush. So you get on social media and you say, listen, watch it. The poor people in England couldn't put two and two together and think, well, shit, what have we been working on for 6 months? Poor Trev's going in for an operation. He says, watch it, just in case I don't come out of this operation. And they're going, well, what the hell are you talking about? So now they're stressing out. They're sending you messages while you got your guts hanging out. And then, so it all went through.
Yeah, that's right, it did.
And all went through. It was obviously on the news and like the equivalent to our footy shows on Fox or whatever it is like that.
Right. So it went through the news, went through, just went big, that announcement, and everyone was quite happy about it.
And then he had a wife?
Yeah, he had a wife.
So she would have been quite humbled as well, and the kids would have loved it.
Wife and 2 boys, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. And, wow, that's good. And then you talk about some people that you've met over there. Go through, talk about some other players you've met. We were talking before when we were sitting outside about Des Hasler.
Yes.
It's something as, another great player. Tough. He was tough.
Yeah, that's right. I was fortunate enough to meet Des when I was the media communications manager for the Bucktown Workers Seagulls.
Right.
Obviously,
feeder club.
With Manly.
Yep.
And when I was actually talking to Des, because obviously Des is a former Penrith junior.
Yep.
And I said to Des, I believe that, it was a good chance that you played with my dad.
Had the same haircut as well when he was a junior as what he had when he played.
Right. When I told him who my dad was, he had a big smile on his face.
Yeah.
Asked how my dad was, because obviously they played together, and back in the day they were good mates.
Yeah.
And then I said, Dad passed away. So from having this big smile, it ended up being a real sad face, it was like a real downer. But it was just good to have a good chat with him.
Yeah. He's a lovely bloke. Yeah, Des Hasler. Yeah, he's a lovely bloke. He's another prick on the field that you just couldn't stand, but you'd love him to come to your club. You know what I mean?
That's right.
He was, he was up there for Manly. He was brilliant when he did the brains. Good brains.
He was an awesome player.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I remember Dad telling me, Penrith had that many Des Haslers running around. Who you meant to pick? Yeah,
that's right. And people bag, like Penrith juniors. You know a lot more about the juniors than what I do, and Penrith juniors is huge.
That's
and
right.
and even when you're down at the pubs and all that, and they go, oh, he's another Penrith junior, another why isn't he playing for Penrith? Well, when you've got 1,200 or whatever it is Penrith juniors to choose from, you can still only pick 30 or 40 of them. The rest have got to go somewhere, and other clubs get them.
That's right.
That's how it works. Just Penrith is fortunate enough that they've probably got. It'd have to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, isn't it? Junior clubs.
Oh, it's the biggest junior rugby league competition in the world.
Yeah. It's and I used to coach for back in the day for brothers. Yep. And things like that in the lower, not the lower grades, but in the lower years, grade and things like that. But and it's huge.
Oh, definitely.
It's huge. A lot of behind the scenes bitch fighting and shit like that you get.
That's everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't go away from any junior grade. And if anyone thinks there's not bitch fighting in junior rugby league, well, they're kidding themselves. The poor kids just want to do their thing. I actually gave up coaching in under 9s or under 10s and in ones. I think it was under 9 or under 10 ones.
Yep.
And we played maybe at Mount Druitt or somewhere like that, and we went down, and the language they used by the other team's parents when whether one of the kids, and at the end of the day, they're still only under 9s or under 10s. They're only 9 or 10 years old, and you haven't developed, and there'd be whether it's a high tackle or a late tackle or whatever it is. Well, the language that came out of some of these mums' mouths and dads' mouths, and we swear on this show, and you wouldn't use this language.
No, that's right.
And then, I stayed for that season. I said, I'm not coaching anymore. And, whether they're just abusing. There was one ref, and he was a young bloke, and he could have been 15, 16. He's obviously just trying to learn refereeing. He's doing his thing in the juniors and progress up, I suppose, Eventually one day he could be an NRL ref. Who knows? But he's only a young bloke, and he's making mistakes. He's 15, 16, and when he made mistakes, it was like I don't know.
Committed murder.
He'd killed someone. Yeah, and I just used to takes a lot to really stress me about things like that. Like, kids are just playing football, and it really made me angry that, and I probably said it a few times, that some parents are living their failed dreams through their 9-year-old kids who they expect to be legends because they couldn't do it. Half of these people have got 4 pies in one hand and are 160 kilos telling their kid what he should do. Like, do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I do like packing it away, but I give it a go. So I give rugby league, junior rugby league coaching up. I thought it was too bitchy, and that was my gripe. And I thought, some of the parents were terrible. That was that was my introduction to junior rugby league, and I just pissed that off. And so, who else have you met? You've met a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah. When I was over in the UK, obviously I formed some good relationships. One person in particular is a guy called Kevin Harkin. Kev played for Wakefield.
Right, yeah.
He had a season over here, but up in Queensland. This was obviously back in the 70s.
Right.
Like I say, he was signed by Queensland Rugby League, and then they made him play up in on the Sunshine Coast.
Right, yeah.
And he played for, I think it was called Wide Bay, which was known as the Rep team.
Right, okay.
And they played against the touring Great Britain side. And people from Great Britain, when they saw it, and they go on, excuse me language, but they go, fucking Harkin, what are you doing here? Like, they didn't realise he was there.
Right.
And this is back in the days, like, they had some real good players back then as a halfback, but I said to Kev, because we are good mates, I said, if the halfback from Great Britain went down, do you think you would have got your call up to the Great Britain team? And that because they knew he was here.
Don't tell me it was Andy Gregory. Wasn't he a halfback?
Yeah, no, but this is back in the 70s.
Oh, 70s,
so
okay.
this is back in the 70s.
Right.
And he said to me, he goes, more than likely, because back then, like, people need to remember, the game over in England for a long time, it was for like good 70 years that the Poms dominated rugby league.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the 70s, and then obviously the 80s, but that's when Australia became who we are. Now everyone seems to forget now that the Poms...
You look at those tours back in the day when, Blocker Roach and Ciro and, all those sort of players, and then you carry it on to the Laurie Dailies and the Ricky Stewarts, and then it just continued. They were just dominant then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
And obviously, like, the English game hasn't really been the same since.
Mm.
And they've come close. I remember the 2004 series, I think it was. They came close, and Australia only ended up winning literally, like, most of the games, literally at the end of the games.
Right.
But they just still did not kick on from all that.
And what do you think of their games in English games, like the English Super League games to our NRL games? What are you thinking? Are our games a faster game? Are they a faster game?
Yeah, the NRL is a quicker game.
Yep.
But I think the tougher game will be over there.
Right.
Because they still get into like a good old... the game's not as structured, so the forwards will just hit it up.
Yep.
Make the yardage that they need to.
Yep.
Get bashed, and then they'll let the backs do what they need to do.
Right.
And the game's still not as structured, so I'm going to use Chris Sando as an example. When he went over there and played at Warrington, he was awesome to watch.
Experimental player too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And like he was awesome to watch when he played Super League because he was allowed to play what was in front of him.
Right.
And you can't teach what he knew.
Right.
And when you put him into an NRL environment, which was a controlled environment, to play the structure, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because everyone here in the NRL, and even down, they all literally play the same game plan. It's just who can pull it off the best.
Some of our NRL players have troubles following complete structure even when they're not on the field, especially the last week.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's a matter for the courts now. But I think some of them got fined for what they had to do. And then there's, we might even do a little show tomorrow afternoon. I've got some other people coming down. And we might even talk about that a bit more in depth. But that's just stupidity in my eyes. But yeah, we can't follow structure, whether it's on the field or off the field or on a beach. But anyway, and so you think that, what would you say, the refs give them more of a free rein, like where our refs will pull you up? Is that where the structure is? Like the refs have been the structured, or our NRL?
It's more the way the teams are coached.
Right. Okay.
And so I remember years ago that players, and I'm going to use the backs for example, you used to have your inside centre and the outside centre.
Definitely.
But now these days, players will have your left side centre and your right side centre.
That's right. Yeah.
And the reason for that is because if you make a mistake or it's your last tackle and you do the kick, it's to make sure that your defensive line is set.
Yep.
And the thing is, and you can see it, that players these days, they'll say, I can only play left side. I can only play right side.
Yeah.
But my thing is, they should be getting taught how to play both sides.
Both sides of the field, yeah.
And you can see,
we do have that over here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got players that can, I think the best player that could do it ever was Brad Fittler, who could play about bloody 8 positions. But, you still have players that can, and you watch them, whether they're wearing a 3 or a 4, we'll just go for the centre, and then you look, they're in the play the ball for the first 2 tackles, whether it's to give the forwards a rest, and they're in there taking a couple up. So everything, and again, it gets that structure back into the game, and then the forwards are set. Come the 3rd tackle, then they can take a couple up before the backs come into it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, we do have a lot of players who can multitask, but then there's some whingers that go, I only play 3. No, I only play 4. That's all I play. That's the only side I can play. I can only pass that way.
Yeah, that's right. And unfortunately, it's even gone down now through the junior system. You even see that junior reps, players can only play one way, and you just think, why can't you pass the ball both sides? I know when I was coaching junior rugby league, I was still teaching the players how to play inside and outside centre.
Well,
and they go to me, and people say, why do you do that? And I go, because in the day, if the player is good enough to go on and play development squad and go through the junior rep system, and they can say, when the coach says to them, I need you to play this side, and if they turn around and say, no, I can't do it, well, mate, you cross, next person.
Yeah, we've got to find a versatile player. I know a number 3 player who said he didn't want to play on number 4 and still playing in the game now, but then wanted to be a fullback.
Yeah.
If you've ever got to play 2 sides of the field, be a fullback. You've got a whole field in front of you to either go either way and be a versatile player. Billy Slater was probably the best, and then Tedesco now. Yeah. If he plays like he does, he will be who knows, probably, what do you say, the best fullback ever? He can play both sides, but I know there's another one. There's a player who wanted to replace Tedesco.
Yeah.
And he only wanted to play one side of the field. You've
right.
got to be able to play everything. So,
that's right.
And when you've been over to England, I know you've been a few times. What about give me some good games that you've seen? Like, whether you're watching, what is it, Bradford, and you're watching Hull, and you're watching Wigan, and you're watching, is it St Helens, and you're watching,
Oh, mate, some good games. Off the top of my head, I remember being at Wakefield Trinity's home ground.
Yeah.
And when they beat Wigan.
Right.
It was funny, the time I was over there, it was like Wigan went through a form slump. I think they only won 1 or 2 games the whole time I was over there in 2018.
Right.
But this one time when I watched them play Wakefield at Wakefield, Wakefield gave it to them that day, and that was a good game.
Wakefield compared to Wigan, if you're putting it in NRL terms, it's like what, Melbourne Storm or Roosters versus
Gold Coast Titans.
Okay, right, yeah, okay.
And I'm just
even the Titans are going to win 6 games for the year, aren't they? They're going to 4 games plus 2 buys. They're going to finish on 12 points. So Titans have got to beat someone.
That's right. But, don't get me wrong, Wakefield are a good team, but they just don't have the money like your Wigan.
Right.
And so they're not like one of the big clubs.
And they don't have the same structure salary cap? Like we're in the NRL here, let's say, for example, you get $10 million a year.
Yeah, I think the salary cap over there at the moment is just over £2 million.
Right. And I can remember Super League back in and let's just go back 15 years. And you can even go back to like Steve Menzies and whenever you'd finish your NRL here, which, I don't know if it was tougher or was stronger or whatever it was, but then you'd go over there and they'd get like £600,000 a season or whatever, and they played 2 years over there. It's like their retirement fund.
So the money used to be good over there. And so players would go over and top up their retirement fund and whatever else and that.
Yep.
So players would go there because the money was better over there compared to over here. Because obviously our salary cap wasn't as big back then.
We were dealing with $3 million for however many players. Now we've got 10 million.
That's it.
Let's
And
go
so
up.
now, because obviously now it's like 10 million.
Yeah.
Money's better over here than what it is over there, and that's why you're seeing more English players coming over here.
Yeah, that's right.
As well.
Look at Canberra. I mean, I tipped Canberra this year to at the start of the year I thought Canberra would be in the grand final. I mean, yeah, I think when you get enough pommies together, they'll gel. I think Canberra's got 5 or 6 of them now, or whatever they've got.
And the players that they do have, like Bateman, for example.
Yeah.
He's from Wigan.
Yeah.
So it's a winning culture. Like, yes, he started off at Bradford.
Yep.
And then went to Wigan. Then they've just the new halfback they've got. He's also from Wigan. So it's that winning culture. So it's just basically getting players there who come from good culture. And I have to admit, and I know, again, so many people want to bag out the English game, but the English players, especially their forwards, they're tough bastards.
Yeah, well...
Like I'll have an English forward.
The toughest forward, I reckon, some of the toughest forwards in our game are the pommies.
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean...
Like, they're tough. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not an understatement. They're just made for it. They love the tough stuff.
Mm. Well, they do like a brawl, the pommies.
That's it.
They do like a brawl. We drink with a little pommie. He's about 4'7". Hello, Sheldon, if you're listening. He's about 4'7". He'll fight anyone. He thinks he wears a number 10 on his back. Yeah. He should be wearing a number half rather than not even a number 1. But they are tough. They are tough.
Definitely.
And it's funny you talk about winning cultures, and over in England people would know the teams that have the winning cultures, and you don't have to name them over here, but most people that follow NRL know the teams who have a winning culture. Right. You know the coach, and me being a Parramatta supporter, back in the 80s with Jack Gibson, he had a winning culture. I mean, it was all different then. You didn't have 500 different coaches, and you didn't have a rub-down coach and a wrestling coach and a this coach. You only had the coach and an assistant coach, and that's what you had. And, they all worked during the day. Right. But Jack Gibson had a winning culture, which goes then on to Wayne Bennett, who had a winning culture. And, yes, he had a great team of players, but, you might have that for a year or two, but then all of a sudden their culture, and when you're on that...
You want to know the link between Gibson and Bennett?
Go.
Their assistant, Ron Massey.
I've got Ron Massey on the wall over there.
That's right, Ron Massey.
Yeah, I've got with Dennis Fitzgerald, and you have a look at Ron Massey go through and through and through and through, and they've got the winning.
He's probably the greatest.
He was unbelievable.
Ever. Very smart man.
Yeah.
And obviously that's why now they got the Ron Massey Cup.
Well, he's brilliant, and he was part of that. I mean, I used to like Jack Gibson's thing. You can be late for training. Just give me an excuse I haven't heard. Yeah. And you get people. I mean, you got the great Brett Kenny up there. He didn't get done. I think it was Ella or someone got done. They couldn't come up with an excuse why they were late for training. So he said, "You're out for the week." Yeah. Like winning culture. Like you don't give me shit. And this stuff that we'll talk about tomorrow night as well, but that's happening with the NRL at the moment. And one of them's a Melbourne team. I can't imagine Bellamy just going, well, listen, you got to. I mean, I know he's got to leave some of it because it's going into the courts or whatever it's going to do, and you got to leave that alone. But he won't tolerate that shit, and that's a winning culture. Yeah. Where there's other clubs that, well, they just get themselves into trouble, and they don't have a winning culture, and that's why they're not at the pointy end at the end of the year.
Lay out the expectations and what you want.
Yep.
And if everyone has to buy into it, and if it just takes one person not to buy into it, it can ruin it.
Exactly right. Now, what else have we got? We've got to tell talk about winning cultures. You've got to tell people here as what NRL team do you follow, and don't try and keep it a secret because otherwise I'll just dob you in. So I know.
Yeah. So guys, most people, like if you haven't known me from when I was younger, I actually go for the Melbourne Storm.
Mm. Well, going for the Melbourne Storm is bad, and the only reason it's bad is because they're not in this state. But if you're going to pick a team that knows how to play and has a winning culture, like you're talking about the winning culture, with some of the greatest footballers that you've ever seen in your life, hats off to you. I go for Parramatta. Well, I don't know what I can say. Like, take the 80s out of the Parramatta's, they're just there. Like where Melbourne has a winning culture. I do have a soft spot for the Roosters, hence I got the Parramatta winning teams on the wall, and I'll be able to sell that as an archive. I mean, 1986 is the last picture I've got of them winning. So how many years ago was that? I have no idea. 34 years ago or something stupid.
34.
But then I do love the Roosters. I think they're a very well-oiled machine.
Yep.
And I love saying that at the pub because there's a couple of blokes at the pub. Oh, they can't stand the Roosters.
Yeah.
They're cheats and they're this and there's brown paper bags and,
Didn't Jack Gibson used to pay players in brown paper bags on a bus?
That was the 80s, mate. You didn't even have to pay tax back then. And right, so and out of all times, favourite NRL player?
Oh, it just depends on the era.
So I'm older than you. I'm a lot older than you.
So when I was younger, like Wally Lewis.
Yeah.
Like Wally Lewis. Probably the main reason why was probably more due to Agro's cartoon connection.
Okay. My God.
No,
Who was that? Jamie Dunn or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. No, what I right? Agro released a tape one year around Christmas time, and one of the songs on it was called Wally, 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 oh, Wally. So I remember, like, I was a young fella. Also liked Peter Sterling.
Yep.
Brett Kenny.
Mr. Brett Kenny.
Yep. Then Greg Alexander.
Okay, yeah.
Then obviously getting a bit more like then Alfie Langers.
He's a top bloke, Alfie. Yeah. Loves a drink too, just quietly. Yeah. And I don't even have to say that because anyone who listens to this and knows Alpha, knows football, knows he loves. There's a couple of blokes, Lou Zavanovic and Joey Bennett. Yeah, they go away with they go up to our Derry O'Donovan. He's another bloke, and down the pub they all go, and I think they do crab racing or yabby racing or something. And Alfie, he likes a drink. Lovely bloke. Yeah, tough.
That's right. Another one of my favourite players, Glenn Lazarus.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
and like it's just so many players you can just ramble off. Like it's not just come down to one. Like I don't know how people can just pick one player.
Yeah, well, there's all different positions. Like,
that's right.
I mean, a player I did love, being a bit older than you, Bob Fulton.
Yep.
Unbelievable. He can captain, he can coach, he can do whatever he wants on the field. There's so. I mean, me being a Parramatta player at that stage there in the early '80s, but up to '86. I mean, I still can't understand why. Really, you've got Wally Lewis from the '80s, and I suppose Mal Meninga at the end of the '80s and things like that. But that the Parramatta team and the Canterbury team and the Manly teams, I still can't fathom why there's not an immortal. Like I can't imagine why a Brett Kenny or a Peter Sterling or something like that. I mean, not so much a Mick Cronin, and great centre and a great kicker and things like that, and for what he did. But yes, I know they're in different awards, but not to have an immortal.
Oh, mate, to be honest, like quite a few ex-players that I've spoken to over the years, they all say Kenny should be an immortal.
He's mine. Like he's in the gold frame on my wall. I think he's brilliant.
Like I reckon he's brilliant as well. And people need to remember that in 1982, he kept Wally Lewis on the bench on that Kangaroo tour.
Yeah.
While he played 5'8".
See, I have a different opinion, and this will piss people off, but Wally Lewis was a great big game player.
Yeah, but when it came to...
I think he played Wynnum Manly, didn't he?
Wynnum Manly, and I think he played for Valleys as well.
And then he went to Seagulls in the NRL, didn't he? And
went to the Broncos when they came in, and then finished off at the Seagulls. And he did all right there, no problem, and I can't take away from the fact he's a brilliant footballer, but he was a big footballer, big game footballer, so when there was a state of origin or when then there was, whether it's a Kangaroo tour or whatever it may be in a big game, he outshone. But week in, week out in club games, he was good. But he wasn't.
But I put Bob Fulton.
Yeah.
And yes, Bob Fulton played for the most hated team in rugby league, and I couldn't stand him in the 80s, like you're not meant to, 70s and 80s. But brilliant Bob Fulton. He would be right. He's like the Cameron Smith of now. Yeah. Bob Fulton, he was.
He knew what
he was doing, and like that. There's a lot of teams that had a lot of great players. I used to love watching Kerry Bowstead.
Yep.
Or Bowstead, however you want to say it. I used to like watching him. There was a lot of great players, but Bob Fulton would be my probably smartest footballer I've seen.
Yeah. See, for me, the smartest footballer I've probably seen. And this is like, as I said, like obviously I haven't been watching the game as long as you have.
Yeah.
Obviously, typical like that. But throughout the 90s and the 2000s and up until now, the smartest footballer I've probably ever come across is Cooper Cronk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
someone who got manufactured into being a halfback.
yeah,
Like, you know, like
that wasn't his position.
that wasn't his position. But Craig Bellamy saw something in him that he works hard, those finer details, and that's what Cooper does. Like and when you watch him now on Fox Sports, when he gives his analyst opinion, I could sit there all day and listen to him.
There's some that you can on Fox Sport that you can sit and listen to all day, and there's other people who are basically just
off.
me, just idiots, and they're on there, and you just switch off.
Yeah.
Please don't switch off, because this is the best we can do. But we're not paid. There's no noughts on the end of our. Well, there's actually there is a nought. There's one big nought.
There's plenty of noughts, but no numbers in front of them.
That's exactly right. Some of those blokes start with a 3 and a 4 and a whatever they might.
That's right.
But Cooper, he's a good-looking bloke. He speaks well. I think he's well educated. You know, he sounds like he's well educated. You actually listen to him when he talks. You listen to him talk.
That's right.
And he can talk on the modern game. It's good to have an old player's insight, because they saw it. Well, this is how I believe it. They saw it in a dirtier time where you didn't. Now there's so many videos and all that they can watch, and they sit down and they have their video sessions and they watch the game. Where back in those days there was like 6 cameras at a game.
Yeah.
Now there's
300.
300.
Sometimes there was only 2.
Yeah, ABC. I mean, that was great footy, wasn't it? Yeah, it's like you had to watch it on your TV through binoculars just so you could see the players. But yeah, good old ABC football on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I used to watch that. And what about if you go in all time? What's the best? I won't say NRL team. What's the best rugby league team in Australia you've seen? We can go to English team later, but what's the best rugby league team in Australia you've seen? Taking away from state of origins and
yeah. Well, during the 90s, you can't go past the Canberra Raiders and the Broncos.
Yep.
I understand. Like Manly had a good run there in the mid 90s.
Yep.
They were good, but the Canberra Raiders and the Broncos, like, didn't matter where they were coming on the table. Everyone would tune in to watch those two teams throughout the 90s.
I always find the benchmark is, and you can say, okay, the Manly team in the mid 90s or whatever it was, they're a great team. And then other than a Manly supporter, say name 6 players, name 7 players off the top of your head, and they go, okay, there was. But then you say, okay, Canberra in the 80s to the early 90s, name 6 players, and you can just go Clyde, Meninga, Daly, Stewart. You can just keep naming. You know, you can just keep naming Lazarus and things like that. You can just name footballers, and that's how you know a good team.
Yeah, that's it. Like when you can just name the players, like not just the team.
Yeah.
Like for me, like you were saying, just name 6 players. Like I could name 6 players from that Manly side.
Yeah.
You know, like you had your Matty Ridge, your Jeff Toombs, your Cliff Lyons, your Danny Moores, your John Hopperwadies, your Mark Carrolls, your David Gillespie.
Good Spud Carroll. Old Spud loves himself. When I went to a function a while ago and with Anthony Maroon and Gordon Tallis was there. Very funny man, Gordon Tallis. And good old Spud was there. Well, he brings out his guitar and he starts singing. He favours himself as a guitar player. Now, I'm a Rolling Stones fan, Spud, and actually, no, he doesn't follow this, but I know some people that know him follow this. He's no Keith Richards. He is no Keith Richards on the guitar, old Spud. Gordy tells a good joke. He does tell a good joke. And he told this joke once that they were on a bus and they were in New Zealand. And there was all different people on the bus, all the Australian representatives, and they all had to, when they went past a shop, someone would point, and it was their turn, and they had to name and read out in New Zealand what the shop was called. Yep. And they go whether it's Blocker Roach, and then there's this person, and Zero, and Gordy Tallis is there, and Alfie Langer, and Sam Bacco was on the bus, and they're going through, and these people are naming all these things like Wakatunga Singer and all these different shops, and it was Sam Bacco's going, and they go, you'll go, Sam, what's that? And he goes, Taki Wae. And they go, that's a takeaway shop, you dickhead. But he does tell a story. Good old Gordy. But I don't know if I can, I'm biased. So I think the 86 Parramatta team is, they were brilliant. And then going in more modern times, and it is hard to go away from Melbourne Storm when they had, and yes, they beat Parramatta in 2007 or whatever it was, and whenever that was a good team. But I think the Roosters
Yeah.
I think the Roosters go back 2 years ago. They had a team. Like they really, I mean, Cronk was part of that team, and just everything just worked. And,
that's it.
That's the well-oiled machine.
I know everyone, besides Rooster supporters, hate on the Roosters. Like they say with their sombrero and all that.
Oh, mate, they are
but at the
good.
end of the day, like Nick Politis is one of the best in the game, administrators in the game.
I mean, I think he called Ian Schubert in, didn't he? And Ian Schubert was part of the NRL. He called him in and said, go through our books, you do it all, and paid him whatever they pay him, $200,000 or whatever they pay him, and they go through. You ordered us.
Yeah.
Ordered us. We've got nothing to hide. Everyone says there's bags and there's money. And
the difference is, and I said this to people, right? Third-party payments make up
they make a lot of their
wages. And so players, they could probably sign a player, just say for example, on $100,000, even though the player could be worth more. But then the third-party payments can just top up for as much as they want.
We'll take third-party payments on Jack Daniels, and we will send this to Jack Daniels. I mean, I do love a gentleman Jack just quietly. But
that's what I mean. Like, so the third-party payments. Nicky's a good businessman.
Smart man.
That's right. Businesses want to do work with him, so they want to work with him on different things. So if they want to jump on board as a third party, even though it's going to happen, and they're going to pay because they know if they don't pay their third party payments, that their business is going to suffer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that happened. I even think it happened with the Eels, but I think a lot of them that they're trying to catch up on these third party payments for many years, and some of them had even gone overseas to do NFL and were still apparently getting payments.
Still getting
payments, and they weren't even in the game. I mean, they're on top of it. Manly on top of it. I mean, they had a question time the other day. I was watching on a TV show on Fox, and the first question they asked Cameron Smith, and he was on a lie detector, and they go, "Do you own a caravan?" Because everyone said that Cameron Smith got a caravan for free or a boat for free, and very funny. But I would go back to it. I would say the Roosters, and they're just a well-oiled machine, and that would be probably one of the best teams I've watched for a long time. I went to the grand final. Was it 2 years ago when Cronk injured him?
Yeah,
he was gone.
He was
and you're
gone.
watching, he was just running on the field, and he was basically, all he was a voice for the rest of the game, and they give it to the Storm that day. Yeah. And I went with old man Chester, who just lives around the corner, mad Rooster supporter, followed him for years, loves Uncle Nick. And, I went with him, and they, the Roosters got over the Storm. But, you have a look at a tough footballer, like you said, smart footballer, Cooper, he was gone. He could not play.
Cooper Cronk that day might as well worn the blue trainer's shirt because that's what he was doing. Basically,
that's all he did. He just trained from the field and coached them, and
that's it.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything else.
Should have given him the PlayStation control.
Jonathan Thurston did that in a game, and my memory's shot to shit from just abuse from the Grey Gums. But Jonathan Thurston, I mean, he used to run around sometimes, and he was just gone before he had his operation, and he'd run around and he'd hang his arm down, and he couldn't do anything but. The leadership, the guidance, and the people that hang around him, and that's how you can tell a leader.
And it's also tough.
Oh, he's tough as.
That's right.
Yeah, and you talk about and you were talking about tough men before and all that. The two shortest, toughest men that probably in their modern day game that you've seen would be Jeff Tuvey and Alfie Langer. Yeah. I reckon for short blokes, little blokes who could hold their thing with anything. You used to watch Jeff Tuvey, he'd fire up.
Oh, Jeff Tuvey, man! I remember watching him play, get knocked down and just getting back up. Like he was just tough.
He's a tough little
Like obviously a top player, but that toughness just made you think, little bloke. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Get back up and keep on going.
Yeah. You're exactly right. There's some big blokes now who wear some, high numbers in the jerseys. I don't think are as tough as him. And they're wearing, whether they're wearing second rowers jerseys or props or whatever. Yeah, they're meant to be tough, and they are tough. But you go for height, for weight, he was probably one of the toughest blokes I've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
So, mate, well, I think that's about us. Yeah, I think we've had a bit of fun, haven't we?
No, it's been great, mate. It's been great.
It's been bloody great. And, I know there's been people listening over in England, and I know there's people listening over here, and I hope it filled in some boredom for you guys. And, we'll do another show tomorrow night. And, I really hope you have a lot of fun. I'm new to this, so I'm going to push some buttons. And you know what? If something happens, well...
If we go kaboom, what's going on.
hopefully someone comes in and finds it and they can put it up and, the police can get hold of it. So if I put some music now, we should just finish off. And, guys, it's been a lot of fun. And, thank you. I think
See you
we're
guys.
finishing off.